Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday noon Tranquilo Live Facebook broadcast. My name is Carole Kramer Arsenault, and I am the founder of Boston Baby Nurse, and I'm also an author. I have several parenting books. The latest is Newborn 101, which was released 2017, about 6 months ago. And I'm also a labor delivery nurse, maternity nurse, and I have 20 years of experience in all aspects of newborn care, postpartum care, baby care, and development. So today, we're going to be talking about milestones, infant milestones. Again, thank you to Tranquilo for having me again. These broadcasts are great. I was away for the last couple of weeks and haven't been able to tune in on Thursdays. I just recently saw Katie's broadcast from last Thursday and it was awesome. So I hope this broadcast brings you some good information. We've got about an hour, so I'll talk for about 30-40 minutes about infant development, and then we'll leave some time at the end for questions and answers. So if you're just tuning in, my name is Carole Arsenault. I'm the founder of Boston Baby Nurse and a maternity nurse. Today we'll be talking about milestones, baby milestones, why they're important, and how we can encourage these milestones during each month. If you're out there, I'd love to get a like or send me some hearts. Let me know that you're listening. If you're tuning in, send me a line. Let me know where you're calling from. If you have babies, how old they are. If you have any questions, like I said, I'll answer them at the end. I'll also touch back. If you're watching this broadcast at a later date, if we're not live, feel free, send your questions because I will be checking at least for a few weeks, and I will respond to any questions that you have. So what we're going to talk about is, we'll talk about baby milestones, and in between I'll sprinkle in some quiz questions that I found that I thought were interesting, and then we'll go through newborn to about 6 months of age. There are there's a lot of growth during those first 6 months, and sometimes it's not so apparent. You know, when a baby's crawling and walking, we can identify those milestones, but some of the earlier milestones are not so easy to identify. So we'll talk about those today as well. All right, and I have my notes, so I will be looking at my notes back and forth occasionally as well. So let's talk about what these infant milestones are. Babies, they all grow at an amazing rate, and let's distinguish. We have physical milestones, growth and development, baby's weight, baby's height, right? That's one thing. But we also have these other achievement milestones, and babies go through these milestones throughout their childhood, but particularly we see a lot the first year. And they're classified into 3 categories. The first category is motor development. The second category is language development, and the third category is social emotional development. So what we'll do is we'll look at each age, each month, 1 through 6, and we'll talk a little bit about what the baby's doing in each of these categories. One thing I did want to mention is that I get a lot of questions and concerns from parents who are nervous or worried that their baby may not be meeting the milestone when they think they should be meeting the milestone. And I want to say it is so important. Don't compare your baby to other babies. Every baby is different. There's such a wide range of normal. Your baby's pediatrician uses these milestones as a checklist. And when you go and baby has the well visits, they'll look to make sure your baby's on track. And if your baby's a little bit behind on a few of the milestones, 99% of the time it's not a problem. It's the baby who is behind with every milestone or is not making the milestones, right? Those are the times that maybe there is something going on, and it's important that we can identify what that might be so that we can get early intervention. And early intervention, early is wonderful and can really help babies' growth and encourage development. All right, so let's go back. We'll talk about let's talk about the newborn. And before we actually talk about milestones, I want to talk about newborn reflexes, because newborn reflexes are something that is also important. So they're not milestones, but a newborn has involuntary movements or actions. And these involuntary movements or actions, we call these reflexes, and they're important. And when a baby is born, the doctors will look at these certain reflexes to determine whether the baby has an intact nervous system, right? Or if there's something going on, we want to see those reflexes. So I'll just talk a little bit about what those reflexes are, just some examples. So sucking, right? And rooting. Babies have a rooting instinct. That rooting instinct will help them to feed. The rooting instinct, when they tickle the baby's cheek, he turns his head so that he can find the mother's breast for breastfeeding. There's also a startle reflex. You might hear it called the Moro reflex. Okay, that is something that you'll notice when the newborn is, right at birth. One of the things that the pediatrician or the nurse will assess is whether your baby startles, and that's that when there's a loud noise or if the baby's startled, he'll bring his hands out when he's a loud noise. His arms and legs extend from his body, and that's a good sign. We want to see those reflexes, and also swaddling. One of the reasons we swaddle is because babies have this Moro or startle reflex, right? And so they could be sleeping, they hear a loud noise, and they'll wake themselves, or they'll hit themselves in the, maybe in the cheek, or they'll wake up. So when we swaddle them, right, we're helping them to remain calm so that they don't wake. Some other reflexes would be grasping, right? A newborn, if you put your finger in his hand, he'll grasp that finger, and that's a reflex. That's involuntary. Stepping reflex, so at baby's 2-week visit, the doctor will kind of hold the baby upright and baby's feet on a flat surface, and it will actually look like he's walking. So these are reflexes, and I didn't want them to be confused with milestones because there is a difference. And the reflexes help identify, like we said, normal brain and nerve activity. And the pediatrician will be looking at those, and they usually disappear. Many disappear within the first month, then in 2 months, and by 6 months, most of them are gone. So a little bit about reflexes. We're done with that. And let's talk about the development, your newborn. If you have a new baby out there, bringing home a new baby from the hospital, they are very smart little creatures. They are a lot smarter than we think they are. I'm just going to go through. So in terms of the baby's vision, hearing, touch, these are all developed in the newborn. So your newborn can see, your newborn can hear, your newborn has a very pronounced sense of touch. So those newborns, that's why we talk about kangaroo care or skin to skin, right? Babies love that, being skin to skin and having their bodies physically stimulated. So some of the things that your newborn, just get to my page over here, sorry about that. Okay, so your newborn, when you come home from the hospital, some things that you might notice is that when you put your baby on his tummy, he might raise his head a little bit, right? So newborns, the first, week, 2 weeks, maybe not so much, but the end of the first month, so 4 weeks or so, you might notice that the baby, sorry about that. can hold his head up a little bit, right? And when you put him on his tummy, but still very, very wobbly. Babies will keep their fists, nice, tightly clenched. Your baby can see you, right? The baby can see 8 to 12 inches. A little blurry, like the first month vision, but it's still a little blurry. Babies can't see color, right? They're black and white. And what is important the first month, when you're home with your baby in terms of how to stimulate and encourage development, we think about these senses, the 5 senses, so vision, touch, and hearing. Those are his senses that we can develop and help him to develop. So when you're holding your baby, when you think vision, 8 to 12 inches is like a good rule of thumb for the first month or so. So that would be, you're holding the baby in your arms, kind of from where my elbow is to my face, so the baby can see. Right? So baby has sort of not peripheral vision, but can look straight on. So give your baby plenty of face-to-face time. Let your baby watch you and see you. Babies are fascinated by parents' faces. It's amazing. I was with the baby yesterday, and he just was staring at his mom. It's just one of those beautiful bonding experiences. So let your baby really look at you. There's no need to have, toys or stimulation or music, all these things going on, right? Just having the baby look at you is plenty of stimulation. We don't want to overstimulate babies, and they don't need a lot. So if you're wanting to do a little bit more with your 1-month-old baby, they love black and white objects. Black and white objects are great. So, you can see, there's little books, you can print something out on the computer, but because they can't see colors, they focus in on the contrasting black and white shadows, particularly like an outline, a black and white outline of something. They also tend to like the same similar patterns. You don't need 10 books for the baby. You don't need 10 different songs for the baby, right? Babies like the same consistency. So, all right, I have no idea what just happened. It looked like the video ended, but hopefully we're all back online now. You can see me. Send me a note. Let me know that you are tuned in. If you are just joining us, my name is Carole Kramer Arsenault, and I am a registered nurse. I'm CEO of Boston Baby Nurse and author of some parenting books. And if you're just joining us, our topic today is newborn milestones and development. Thank you, Tranquilo, for having me back. And I hope everyone is yeah, good. Okay, thank you. Thanks for letting me know. I just got a couple of comments. All right, so let's move on with our newborn babies, and talk a little bit about other kind of activities that we can do with a newborn, right? So I guess if I can get any point across, babies don't need lots of gadgets and lots of stimulation. I did a home visit. I saw a family, and they had a little mini computer for their newborn. And I'd never seen anything like it. It had bells and whistles, and they were so proud of it. And, that's great, and nothing against these cute toys, but it's really not necessary. And waiting until a baby's a little bit older for those types of things. You really want to keep it basic. Babies don't need a lot. They need love, and they need food, and they need skin to skin. They need to hear voices, and they need to see people. That's pretty much it for that first month with those newborns. Okay, so I also wanted to make today's broadcast a little exciting, or give you something that you don't already know. So I did a little bit of research, and I found some interesting studies that have recently been completed. And the studies are, this particular study was done on 2-month-old babies, and it studied the cause and effect. It was done at University of California at Berkeley, and they found that 2-month-old babies kicked their legs more when their leg movements made a mobile, right? This spin, which is so interesting, right? So the babies kicked, and when they kicked their legs, the mobile spun. So this suggests that they understood, like a 2-month-old baby understood that kicking equals moving the mobile. So most toys for infants, would work on the same principle. As they get a little bit older, by kicking, a large bar, the baby can cause the toy to light up or play music. So it's really interesting to know that babies can learn cause and effect by experiencing, but also by watching their parents' facial expressions. So that's what I thought was the coolest things. So when a baby is watching their parents and the parents smile, right, the baby understands that whatever he's doing is causing the parent to smile, like cause and effect. So it's going to encourage that baby to continue whatever behavior is that made mom smile. So if baby smiles, right, and mom and dad smile and they're just so excited, the baby's going to continue doing that because he knows what the effect will be. So parents' reactions and their facial expressions really make a difference. The sounds, the gestures that parents make, when mommy smiles, when daddy makes a sound, and the babies notice that. So I guess the takeaway from that study is that, take the time to interact with the baby. Even these, little 2-month-old babies, put the text messages down, and be present. Even if it's, for a little bit of time, babies can really pick up on our behaviors, and they know when we're tuned into them. So 2-month-olds, some of the things that we can expect at this point. Socially and emotionally, you're going to start to see smiles. That's the best. I loved when my baby started to smile. And some babies, even a little bit earlier than that, but somewhere between, 5 weeks to 8 weeks, you might notice that baby's first smiling, sometimes a little bit later towards the 8-week mark. And some babies sooner. So the smile is really awesome. Babies are going to look at their parents. They know their parents. They're familiar with their parents or the caregivers. And they really like to see that same person and the consistency. They may react to a stranger. As young as 8 weeks old, if a stranger comes in, like they don't know enough to be scared, but they'll notice that something's different, right? They'll notice, wait, this isn't my mom. So they may begin to react to strangers. Language, as far as the language development goes, you'll start to hear coos, you'll start to hear gurgles. Babies will turn their head towards the parents, towards the sound of the parents' voices. Cognitively now, the baby will pay attention to the sound and figure out, who's that coming from? And they'll focus in on the mom, the dad, or the babysitter, who's ever with that baby a lot, and who that baby forms an attachment with. They'll look for those attachments. Follow objects with their eyes, which is kind of cool. And what I thought was interesting is that babies at about 8 weeks or so can start to act bored. I didn't know that. That was something I learned in my research. I thought they were a little bit older. But if you notice that if your baby is laying underneath the jungle gym for 20 minutes and he starts looking around, he needs to go to a different activity, or maybe needs to be held, or some change. But that's something that you'll notice that starts to happen right around the end of the second month. I'm going to put my glasses on here. So talking a little bit more about what your 2-month-old can do, they start to learn how to calm themselves a little bit. Get their fingers in their mouth. That might help. They like routines. This is a really good time to start establishing some routines. A sleep routine and a bedtime routine. Babies crave routines starting at 2 months of age, all the way up. Baby children teenagers, right? Consistency is important. So we have someone who's a 5-month-old. Hi there. And a couple other little babies around. Good, 2-month-old, 5-month-old. Awesome. I'm so glad people are listening. So we talked about setting up routines. This is a really good time now. Sleep-wise, no, your baby won't sleep through the night. Too early to do sleep coaching, but routine, like creating a routine. This is a really good time to do that. This is a great age. You'll notice that babies act excited, right? Babies excited to see the parents. They smile when they see the parents. What else is interesting at this stage now is that your baby can differentiate between his needs. So in other words, he might cry a certain way if he's hungry. He might cry a certain way if he's tired. And so what our role is to try to pick up on these cues, right? And try to read our baby's signals. And, if your baby's tired, like, what does that sound like? What does that mean? Whereas the first 4 weeks, everything kind of sounds the same. We have no clue. But as the baby gets a little bit older, now that he's 6, 7, 8 weeks, we can begin to distinguish what the cries are. Activities. The first month is tough. Babies, they don't do a lot. They don't do a lot. But now, like the second month, the babies, they're a little more, they're less fragile. So some activities, again, tummy time, start right at the beginning. You can put your baby on the tummy. It's great. It's a great exercise, and it's a good habit to get into. And if the baby doesn't love tummy time, that's okay. That's fine. You can try it again next week. Try it again, in a couple of days. Babies they're not always in the mood, and it should be something happy. It's not something we want to force or get stressed at, but, tummy time for your baby, try it once or twice a day. Mirrors, babies love to look at faces, but now they'll be able to notice their own face. So putting mirrors, if you have a mirror on the baby's maybe changing table or in the crib. And another really fun idea for babies at this age is, we put them on tummy time on the floor and actually put the little mirror on the floor so that the baby can, look at himself. And that can be really fun. If baby's head is still a little wobbly, sometimes I use either a towel or a boppy so that the baby's head is still supported, and then you put that mirror right in front of the baby. And that sort of encourages the baby to lift his head up, and it helps to develop his upper body strength. Again, babies at this age can't reach for things yet, but they can still hold on to things. So putting something in the baby's hand to hold. There are little rattles that attach to the wrists or to the ankles, but they'll all be very soft because at this time they still might have those movements and might accidentally, bang themselves if they have a hard rattle in their hand. So you want to use soft toys, small soft rattles. And the last activity that, and I love this, is so fun, is at this point, an 8-week-old baby, you can actually hold this baby upright and he'll put some weight, bare weight on his legs. So just getting him used to being in an upright position, and you can sing, you can talk, you can do all kinds of things. Really fun for the baby to get used to being in that upright position. So if you have questions or anything, send them along, and we will leave time at the end, depending on how old your baby is. Feel free to send along any questions that you may have. So we're now at 3 months. In between like 2 and 3 months, babies start to have what we call object permanence. So a baby will know that when you take an object away, that it still exists. And sometimes, if you have a little object and you put a blanket over it, for a long time, baby thinks it's gone, right? He doesn't see the object, so he doesn't understand that it's still there. But then somewhere between the 2 and 3 month point, babies start to understand that, wait, that's still there. So this is a great time to play peekaboo. Right? So with your hands over your face, you cover it, and then you take your hands away, you're still there. So this can help with your baby's development as well. And they usually love peekaboo. It's a very simple game. You don't need much. You don't have to, nothing really that you have to learn or memorize, which is peekaboo. Peekaboo. Babies will love it and giggle. So bringing us to the baby's third month. And another study that I found interesting, babies reacting differently to words than to sounds. Okay, and so the reason I'm mentioning this is because there's a lot of research that talks about how many words a baby should hear daily for language development. And I heard 30,000. That's a lot of words. 30,000 words a day is a lot. And I read 15,000, right? I don't start counting your words. I would never recommend that. But what I think that the point, the takeaway on this is that talk to your baby. And it doesn't matter the amount of words that he hears. It doesn't have to be you're talking directly to the baby. You can be talking to another child. You could be talking to another parent. It's hearing the words that is important to the baby. TV doesn't count. It's words that are human words that are spoken. I can tell you a story about a dad who new dad, and just great family, and they had twins. They have twins. And Dad would come home from work, and he would prop his twins up next to him, and he was reading a Stephen King book, and he would read the book out loud, or he would read the newspaper out loud so that he could get his reading in the newspaper or whatever, and the babies were picking up his words, and the babies were just cuddled with him and listening to words. So just an example. It's something easy, and it's fun for parents. You can catch up on your reading, but it's also great for babies to hear words. Okay, so another study. There's two more. This is the second study, and then I have one other one I'll share with you. But this is a recent study, compared 3-month-old babies who saw pictures of fish and dinosaurs while hearing spoken words. Those who saw the same photos but heard computerized tones instead of words. So they compared babies who heard the actual words, and they compared babies who heard a computerized tone of the words, right? So the result, the words that got the baby's attention were the human words, not the words that were computerized. So really interesting. And this was research that was done in 2017. Again, I think it was University of California. So the study, it just underscores the importance of talking to your baby a lot. And I'm telling you, I'm sharing this information with you. It's been my experience. I've worked a lot with babies. But if you're a new parent and you've got a baby, it's progress, not perfection. We don't have to, every day doesn't have to be, perfect. We're human, and we're parents, and you need to enjoy your baby. And if there's some days where you just don't feel like talking, it's okay. Your baby will be fine. So this is not, follow these guidelines. These are suggestions. You take what you like, and what you don't like, you leave. Certainly, some of these things will resonate with some of you, and some will resonate more with others. But the purpose is to just give you some really easy ways to help your baby's development. Not stressful, just ways that you can enjoy and have fun with your baby. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the 3-month-old baby. 3-month-old babies now really are in a different league, right? They're not newborns anymore. And those of you who have a 3-month, it's all of a sudden things change. They start to sleep better. They eat better. They're happier. They're easier to get into a little bit of a routine. They may be napping better. And it's all now because they're just developing emotional skills differently. They're like starting to develop like adults, right? Their brains are starting to work. And so the same thing like a 2-month-old does. Your 3-month-old is just a little bit bigger. He's going to be able to put more weight on his feet. Tummy time, baby may be able to actually lift up his chest, lift up his head. So they're getting strong. And it's a fun age. So some other activities for this 3-month-old baby would be, this is a good time for the jungle gym. So I know jungle gym, I don't know if it's still called the jungle gym. I think the parents that I see still call it a jungle gym, but when you have that little tent with some dangling toys and your baby's on the blanket, you don't need to turn on any lights or ding-dings or music, or you could have some music in the background. But what's interesting is that the dangling toys, now that the baby sees that, he'll try to bat at it, right? So if you don't have a jungle gym, you don't need one, you can take a soft toy and like put a ribbon or something around it and just kind of dangle it around your baby, get his attention, and he'll try to reach for it, or he'll follow it with his eyes. And maybe let him grab it and then move it around. But you'll notice that they'll try to grab onto whatever is dangling, which is a lot different from the 2-month-old. They may look like they're trying to grab it, but it's more of that reflex, right? But now at 3 months, they're making these connections that, this is a toy, I want that. And they'll start to swing it. Okay, so let's go on. We have 4-month-old babies. Again, 4 month, moving right along. So big milestone, they recognize their own names, which is kind of interesting when you think about it. I'll just give you an example. If I say, Jack is going to go to the store with mommy tonight. So I just said all these words, and to a baby, it's just like one big, like long word. Like what? But if we continue to use the word Jack, pretty soon the baby will start to identify, understand, wait, I'm Jack. Jack means me. So when we say things like, it's time for Jack to get his diaper changed, Jack is a good boy. So using the baby's words, using his name will help him to start to identify with himself. And he will now respond. If you say, Jack, they'll look up when their names are called. This is in large part because it's the word babies are most used to hearing, right? How many times have they heard that word? By 4 months now, he's heard that word a lot. So achieving this milestone is a sign that your baby is able to discern sounds, is focused enough to make out those sounds, and that he can hear, that he has good hearing. So you can help by making an effort to use your child's name when you're speaking with him. And I do want to mention that parents or caregivers caring for twins, or if there's lots of babies in the room, it's important to identify each baby instead of grouping them. Like, okay, kids. Of course, we're going to say that at times, but just pay attention to how many times each baby, like we really need to say each baby's name. So, if a caregiver is taking care of 2 or 3 babies, she needs to make sure that she's talking to Jack, saying, Mary's name, baby Chloe. So just hearing the baby's name is important. Okay, so I'm going to ask a quiz question and see if you guys can. Okay, so how will you know when your baby is experiencing cognitive development? A, he becomes fussy. B, he stops eating and sleeping. C, he watches television. 4, he starts reading comic books. Okay, that was kind of a silly one. So how do you know when your baby's experiencing cognitive development? Let's see if you can send me some comments out there. Okay, well, yes, I see a correct answer. He becomes fussy. Fussy, fussy, fussy. So this kind of relates a little bit to this regression that happens. And many of you have probably heard of like sleep regressions and things like that. Regressions aren't really, it's not a regression in the sense of we're moving backwards and losing our skills. It's not that at all. It's that we're on the verge, these babies are on the verge of learning new skills. And when the baby's on the verge of learning new skills, many times their internal systems are in array. And that means they might not be sleeping right. And because they're not sleeping right, they're more cranky during the day. And if they're more cranky during the day, they might not be eating. So it's not that the baby's actually regressing. It's that the baby is going through a developmental change, right? Progression. And in order to move forward, some babies will move backwards a little bit, or it will look like they're moving backwards. But remember, they're not forgetting tasks. The babies who have been sleeping great and then all of a sudden wake up 2 or 3 times a night, it's not that they're regressing back. There's nothing wrong. It's part of what happens as babies develop. So with sleep regressions, not to get off topic, but it is important not to start changing what you're doing. You want to make sure that you keep, hey, all right. So I just got a couple of hearts, but you want to make sure that your baby is, keep him on the schedule. Like he might wake up, but there's no reason for you to take him out of bed and console if he's not sick. Sleep regressions usually last 2 or 3 days, as do the developmental regressions. Okay, so good job to you who got those answers right. All right, let's see. I'm going to ask you one more question. I just answered it myself. Okay, it says when your baby seems to have be in a sleep regression and he's already mastered a skill and now he looks like he's losing it, what should you do? And the answers were call your doctor, not worry, make a play date with a more advanced baby. And the answer is B, not to worry. Okay. All right, so we've got our 4-month-old baby, and again, let's just get a time check here. Okay, so we're got about another 10 minutes or so, and then we'll stop and we'll have some questions and answers. But for the 4-month-old baby, talk to your baby, smile to your baby, routines. Make sure you've got those routines going. Pay attention to what your baby likes and doesn't like. Right? So listen to his cries. Copy your baby's sounds. Copy his facial expressions. Act excited when your baby makes a sound. Because again, remember that study that we talked about, cause and effect? Baby makes a sound, we get excited, baby will make more sounds. Give him age-appropriate toys, a book, right? We want the same book, we want consistency, something simple. Peekaboo, great game for babies, peekaboo. The last thing I wanted to say, the toy that I think is kind of, babies love it. And these little rattles, we just mentioned it previously, but I'll say it again, put it around the ankles, or you can Velcro it around their wrists, and they move around and they can grab their toes and do all these things. And, by looking at these toys that they have on their wrists. All right, so we're now on to the 5-month-old baby. 5-month-old babies are, okay, so I'm getting lots of hearts and likes, so that's a good thing. So 5-month-old babies now will hold their head up. They'll be in a sitting position. The babies will roll onto their stomach, onto their back, they'll explore toys, they'll babble, they'll look in the mirror, right? 5-month-old babies, you want to make sure that they're outside. You're taking them out to do lots of other things, that they can see other babies, and that they're maybe involved in some type of either a play group or some friends together. So they're starting to become social, and getting your babies together with other babies, all good things to do with your 5-month-old. 6-month-old babies, incredibly socially aware at this point. They are making inferences about all kinds of things, very socially aware, and they're getting really good at reading social cues. So this is my last study that I wanted to talk to you about. Again, it was done, it was University of Toronto, just the end of 2017, found that 6-month-old babies could tell the difference between an adult being unwilling to do something and being unable to do something, right? So what does that mean? So when researchers tried but couldn't pass babies a toy, the babies understood and they took it in stride. But when they held out the toy and they took it back, the baby averted, they frowned, their body language says, I'm onto you, I don't like you, right? So this is like high-level learning to judge another's intention, right? That's what they're learning, and that's a key skill that that your baby will have when they can judge what the other person's intention is. So this is another milestone, and fostering the ability by being how we can foster that is to be genuinely responsive to your baby's attempts to interact with you, right? So again, I know we're all busy, and in this day and age with electronics, and we're on the phone texting, and baby's here, and your baby can pick up on your cues. And this information, these studies, they're recent because this is the first time in history where electronics technology is as prevalent as it is. And so a lot of research is going into this, and this study which came out was really interesting, and that babies are aware. A 5-month or 6-month-old baby knows when his parent is genuinely tuned in, or when he's kind of tuned into this, but focused on his electronics, not tuned into his baby. So anyway, resist the urge. We've all had it. To send a few texts or chat messages on the phone when you're feeding or playing with your baby. But when you're with your baby, be with your baby. Be fully there, because she's smart enough to know it. So I think we're going to wrap up. If you have any specific questions, please feel free to send me a question, comment, anything like that. I think we still have a few minutes, because I did want to say one more thing to talk about the 6-month-old, which is huge, is moving around. The 6-month-old milestone is mobility. And so babies will really start to become mobile, rolling over in both directions, beginning to sit without support, and rocking back and forth, really standing and supporting weight on their legs. The 6-month-old is getting ready to move. So, your 6-month-old, you'll see him on his tummy, and, he's going to be scooching. He's going to be trying to move. He's going to try to be pushing himself. So this is an important milestone that occurs. And it's usually 6 months, 7 months. There are a lot of milestones to 6 to 12 months, and we can do that at another session. So I don't want to get too far ahead, but the 6-month is right, that phase where you're going to see your baby wants to start getting mobile. Some of the other things that the baby does cognitively, curiosity. Your 6-month-old is curious about things. So, bring your baby outside, show him a tree, show him the leaves. They're just soaking up everything. They're like a sponge. Looking at things around. Babies love to look. It doesn't have to be anything exciting. It could be, looking outside the window on a rainy day, anything like that. Language for your baby. Again, your baby at this age is going to respond to sounds. He's going to start to string along words, not words, but like vowels. He'll string vowels together, babbling, pretty much like the ah, ah, or eh, or maybe even ohs, and takes turns with parents. So mom or caregiver or dad, parent will say ah, and then baby will repeat. So this is like this communication that is really cool, and it starts to just really propel 6 through 12 months. The first 6 months, like I said, some of these milestones are kind of hard to pick out. And the second half, it's very different. But the thing to know about the 6-month-old baby is that they're really starting to become mobile and very social. They love to play with others. They love to play with, they like to see other babies, so taking them out and getting them, in the mix. Okay, so you know what, we are almost done. Got about 15 minutes left, and let's see, we've got some questions here that I will be happy to answer. And then again, if you're watching this broadcast and it's taped broadcast, we're not live, then feel free, continue to send along your questions, because I'll be looking and answering them for the next couple of weeks. So we have a question, what if it's hard to be consistent for baby with work schedules? Will it be harmful to them if their lack of consistency? So as I hoped to get across, is that it's not black and white, it's not all or nothing. So consistency is great, but if we're human, we have a lot, we go to the store, we work, so it can't always be a perfect world. And no, it's not harmful for your baby. What I would encourage is that there is at least 1 or 2 consistent daily activities. It could be very simple, something in the morning perhaps. If you're a working parent, something consistent in the morning. Maybe the caregiver or the daycare can do something consistent with the baby, like a nap, and then maybe a consistent bedtime, something like that. But no, it's not 100% or 0. This is just, this is a long period of time. You have your baby, and you have time to develop all of these things, and they're just things to keep in mind, that we do want some consistency in the day. Any other questions? We have a breastfeeding, but next week I'm starting to plan solids. Do you suggest to wait or start over? All this time it was breastfeeding, but next week I'm planning to start solids. Do you suggest to wait or start over? Well, that all depends on the baby. It really depends on the baby's weight. If he's gaining weight, there's no reason to start the solids. This is something I would check with the pediatrician on. But babies will look like they're ready at certain times. And at 6 months, if a baby is making actions, if he's acting as if he's interested, so baby will open his mouth and show interest, then yeah, I would say this is a good time to start solids. If that baby has no desire, then you wait a little bit. But 6 months, is usually what the good time to start solids, and most pediatricians and caregivers will actually recommend that period of time for the baby. Sleeping 13 hours a day, I don't know. That's a lot. Baby sleeps around 13 hours a day. I'm not sure if that's an actual question, but 13 hours at night, yes. But during the day, babies will, depending on what age, but at 6 months, he's still taking the 3 naps at that point. And let's see, yeah, so I will answer any other questions over email. And what babies get unwell weekly once. Constipation. So there's a lot of questions here. So what I'll do is I will answer them independently when I'm offline, and I'll send the answers over to you. And I guess that's it. All right. Well, it was so great. I hope I made I made some points for you, and I hope you found some information useful. I will show you this, my book, Newborn 101, which is available on Amazon, and it does have sections on lots of the baby and exactly what developmentally, what milestones that what they're achieving and what we can do. So a lot of the information you can find in the book. There's actually a lot more in the book. And great. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye.